Good morning. Welcome to this beautiful day. It's Tuesday, and every day that we arrive at is a gift. So let's just take a moment to feel that appreciation of this day was gifted to me. Okay, not everyone got this day. And the fact that we're here and healthy and choosing to be on a meditation half an hour is a gift. Beautiful way to start the day. So there's been a lot of talk about returning back to normal, right? And I'm wondering what back to normal really means. I'm wondering what it means for you. If you want to, you're welcome to write in the chat. And there is an idea which Rabbi Lapin spoke about of what returning back to normal means. There's a Jewish idea that teshuvah, which is return, is going back, right? But we choose to go back in a different way when we do teshuvah. So many of us, well, all of us, have been in bidud, been in isolation, and it's a phenomenal process actually that the whole world, every single person in humanity has experienced isolation. We've all had this collective experience, but everyone has experienced it differently. Everyone has had their own challenges, their own difficulties, their own joys, their own connections, their own realizations during this time. And it's amazing how each person's specific encounter with this time in quarantine has had personal messages for each of us. So I'm wondering what those messages were for you. And today we're going to focus a little bit on that for ourselves and see what this means to going back to normal. Do we really want to go back to how things were? Is that what we want? Is that what we're aiming for? It's a chance as we make this transition to take the time to think a little bit, where have I come from? What's happened to me in these last 2 months? What have I enjoyed about the slow down pace that I have been surrounded by? What are the things that were so important to me before that all of a sudden became not so important? What were those things? What are the things that weren't important to me before that all of a sudden became important? Here you can think about your health and your relationships and your family. What about the people who you couldn't see that you longed to see? What are you doing about those relationships? And what about the people who you were forced to see? What happened to those relationships? What about the way you conducted your work? How did that change? And are you ready to go back to how things were? Or are there changes that need to be made? What about the way you managed your time? We spoke so much about time management, how we are free to choose what we do with our time. And even although we were all confined to our homes, how did we spend that time? Did we spend it connecting with people? Did we spend that ruminating on our own thoughts and our own misery? Did we spend that trying to serve, help people around us, make this world a better place, see what gifts we had to offer? How did we use our time? What has changed for us that can't go back to the way things were? Something is different. Today's session is going to be about looking at that. So I've brought a quote for us today, obviously from Dr. Viktor Frankl, the founder of logotherapy, which I practice and which I help people with, is finding meaning in challenge and difficulty. This didn't happen just it didn't just happen like, oh, okay, Corona, Finished, let's move on. It happened for a reason. And wouldn't it be incredible if we could move into that place of what now? This has come into my life for a reason. I'm going to do something about it. So what are we going to do about it? That this corona has been in our lives. So here's the quote. It's a few sentences long. I'm going to read it for you. And it says, he says, Dr. Frankl says, and he, for those of you who don't know him, he's a survivor of the Holocaust, studied human behavior. And he says, a human being is not one thing among others. Things determine each other. But man is ultimately self-determining. What he becomes within the limits of endowment and environment, he has made out of himself. In the concentration camps, for example, in this living laboratory, on this testing ground, we watched and witnessed some of our comrades behaving like swine, while others behaved like saints. Man has both potentialities within him. Which one is actualized depends on decisions, but not on conditions. That last line I absolutely love. The way we act doesn't depend on our circumstances. It depends on our decisions that we make. So now we're kind of on the border, transitioning back to normal. What does that feel like for you in your body? And we're going to go into meditation now, where we're going to just sit with these ideas. I've placed quite a few thoughts before you. Relationships, work, time, even spirituality. How did that feature in your time in isolation? What do you want to be bringing with you as you move forward into a new normal instead of going back to normal? So it's a new kind of normal, and we get to decide what that's going to look like, right? So where he says here, it is actualized depends on decisions and not conditions. It's an invitation to us to get to choose, how do I want to be moving forwards into the normal, into this new normal. So let's take a moment to sit together. And something beautiful about sitting together is that we have a feeling of a tribe, that I'm not alone in this, that other people have joined me in my journey of connecting to my day in a magnificent way before I even started. So let's just connect to the people who we can't see who are on this call, and connect to the intention and the energy. And as we say that, I'm going to ring my bells. The bells will just signal the formal start of this practice actually coming into being. So sit comfortably in your chair and gently close your eyes. Notice that you've carved out the space for yourself. Connect to the energy in the room, a healing energy as you approach your day. Meditation is all about entering into the quiet, internal space within us. So welcome yourself to this space. It's an invitation to meet yourself on a deeper level. It doesn't matter if you have been doing meditation for years or today is your very first day. However you find yourself, welcome yourself to this place of peace, of internal peace. And set your intention for what you would like to get out of this time together. And what matters is that you have shown up So really acknowledge yourself for that right now, that you've shown up to carve out the space of peace for yourself. Michael Singer, who's the author of the magnificent book, The Untethered Soul, he writes, "There is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of your mind. You are the one who hears that voice. You are the witnesser. And oftentimes the voice will come up. It's a critical voice saying you're no good, saying you're a loser, you're a failure. How do you expect to succeed? Or you think you can meditate? That is not the voice of who we are. That is just a voice that comes up in our head. And as we slowly move into silence, I want you to watch that voice in your head and just notice it, because you are not that voice. You are just the watcher of that voice. So take a moment to connect to your breathing. Notice the in-breath and notice the out-breath. And just notice that breathing happens all on its own. What a gift. It's not something that every second of the day we have to pay attention to. Just from a place of gratitude, notice your breath. What does the air feel like? What's the temperature as it enters your nose? Notice the pause between the inhale and the exhale. Notice with each inhale, you're taking in fresh, clean oxygen to nourish and nurture every cell in your body. And you breathe out all that you don't need. You can even sigh it out as you breathe out. Just letting go. With the in-breath, we take in. And then we let go, we release. All that tires and obscures us, anything that worries us, just let go. Start to think for a moment now about these past 2 months of being in isolation and lockdown. See what's coming up for you. Take a moment to think about the connections you had with people, the relationships, how they changed, what was good, what was not so good that you'd like to repair. Let's spend a few moments of silence there. And just knowing that if your thoughts trail off to other things, the point of meditation is when we gently and kindly invite ourselves back to the practice. So right now, focus on the relationships. Notice what was good in the relationships. What do you treasure? How do you feel about these people or this person in your life? Find the place in your body where you are experiencing this. Perhaps you want to put your hand over that area. Our breath grounds us back in the practice. So if your mind has traveled off, just gently welcome it back and be with the relationships. Or focus on any relationship that might need healing. See it in your mind's eye. And we don't just automatically go to what's wrong. We can also look for what is right in the relationship. What do I want to strengthen? What does this person mean to me? Notice the breath. Come back to the breath. And perhaps you want to think now about any insights you had during this time. What was good for you? What did you enjoy about lockdown? What did it give you the time to be able to explore? Notice in your body where you're experiencing this. Notice what this experience is in your body. Is there a gratitude that you had this opportunity to carve out the time to do something and you actually did it? It could be an activity, or it could go back to a relationship. What has this time given you? Just notice what is arising in your body, and without judgment, sit with that feeling, with that sensation. You can even label it. You might even be feeling you've wasted a lot of time. You didn't use your time like you could have. So notice that feeling, acknowledge it, and sit with it. Or perhaps you might be feeling proud. or grateful or complete. You might be feeling angry that you were put into this situation. Just let that which is arising arise and honor it by saying, I see you, I hear you. You can even hold that feeling in your hands. Close your hands together and hold that feeling. Nurture it. Love it. If it is a negative feeling, it also wants to be acknowledged. Let's go to that place. And come back to the breath. Knowing that you are being breathed every moment, every second. The gift of this breath that keeps you alive. We've said this before, but we'll say it again. If you woke up today, it's a gift. How are you going to use it? And if any negative feelings have arisen for you today in this meditation, well, that's wonderful, because today is your second chance. You get to change them. So if you have had some negative feelings arise, just see what you want to change. What kind of energy do you want to go into the day with? It could be also that nothing is arising for you. And in that case, if you need a bit of help, try putting your hands on your heart and feel the warmth from your hands as they just enter into your body, and see what comes up. There's no judgment at anything that comes up. Remembering that we are just the watcher. We are just noticing and being in this magnificent moment. We are being mindful and experiencing what is right now. And if what is right now isn't at the intensity or the level that you want it to be, then set your intention or change the frequency.